Welcome back to Beating a Dead Horse. As always, I am your host, Sean McKinda.
And as always, I am your host, Jackson Keller.
And as always, we have lied to you once again. This is a running theme of the podcast of we're going to watch this movie, and then we just do not. Because we're going to watch Don't Let Go, and then we looked into it, and it's getting like a super weirdly limited release.
Despite getting very extensive advertising. I saw trailers for this even in Marquette.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is up with that. Because, like, I live in Columbus. There are a couple theaters in Columbus. 5 theaters are showing this movie. So, I don't know what's up with that. You're not seeing any back at home, if I'm understanding correctly.
No, the closest one was like 25 miles, I think. And, like, fuck that for a movie that I picked because I kind of liked the trailer and we needed to fill a week. So let's do one of your favorites. And we're gonna let go of Don't Let Go, never to be seen again. Maybe it was an opportunity to see if it was a hidden gem. I will have no reason to ever approach it. So to the Shadow Realm with you.
I mean, I forget the fucking name of Don't Let Go half the time as it is. So yeah, no, we're doing Clue, which, as Jackson said, is one of my just favorite movies. This is a movie that I watched a long time ago with my parents. We talk about like how 80s movies have kind of shaped my just experiences on one of our bonus episodes. This is 100% one of those. And I watch it maybe every other year at this point, maybe every year. It's just something that like occasionally I'm like, oh yeah, there's a movie called Clue. That's a really fucking good movie. I'm gonna watch that tonight. It's a great movie, and it's a complete cult classic. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's energetic, it's frenetic, it's fucking weird. I apparently there's people out there who don't like it. I don't know how, but I mean, if you don't, well, to be perfectly frank, you're wrong. I don't think that art is objective in any way, shape, or form, but in this one case, it is. This movie's great, and you're wrong.
Sean's bringing down the hammer on everyone, except for me, because I also thought this movie was great. I don't have the background on Clue in this case. This is very much a Sean pick. We, as soon as we realized Don't Let Go wasn't happening, we're like, well, fuck, check the archives. So it was Sean's turn to talk about one of his faves, and my only experience with it was when we were roommates in college. I walked in on like the very end. And I looked at it, I'm like, what the fuck are you watching?
The ending, if you are familiar, is very weird.
Very strange. And of course, Sean replied, Clue. And I paused and said, Clue as in the board game Clue. As in Colonel Mustard in the ballroom with the candlestick. And Sean says, yes, it's great. Tim Curry's in it. And I'm like, well, shit. I guess I'm sold. And at this point, I don't know if we want to mention the gimmick, but there is a gimmick.
We'll save the gimmick for spoilers.
Yeah,
but most people are familiar with the gimmick. But if somehow you're not, we're gonna try and save you from it. But we're gonna talk about the gimmick a little bit in the spoilers as well, and say that it doesn't really ruin the movie.
No, not at all. It's a little strange because the gimmick is mostly what I'd asked about. Because I had walked into the part where, like, one of the parts where the gimmick was kind of rearing its head, and that's when Sean explained it to me. And you can bet we're gonna have a nice long conversation about that.
Yeah, no. This movie does something incredibly unique, that has not really been done ever again. And I'm so excited to talk about this because we have so many thoughts about it, and like we were talking about it in our pre-discussion, and we came up with some really interesting ideas that I really want to talk about, but we can't. We have to talk about in the fucking post spoiler discussion. For now though, just fucking talk about Clue, man. This movie fucking rules. I love it so much. Tim Curry is absolutely wonderful. Everyone else in this movie are just they're all like overacting to the exact right amount that it feels incredibly campy, but still like you're invested with everything. Mrs. White is the person who plays Mrs. White is absolutely incredible. Miss Scarlet is fucking wonderful. Colonel Mustard is Colonel Mustard, and I mean that in the best possible way. Professor Plum is goofy and played by Christopher Lloyd, which fucking rules. And then the last guy, whose name I am totally blanking on.
It's not Mr. Pink. That's Reservoir Dogs.
That is Reservoir Dogs. Talk for a second, Jackson. I'm gonna look it up.
Sure. Yeah. So, really, I mean, I guess this is an appropriate place as any to, talk about pretty much my only
Mr. Green.
Mr. Green. So it kind of was Mr. Pink. But this, as a first timer, I guess like I'll take the opportunity here. I'll front load the criticism because there isn't much, and I've really got only one thing that I can kind of segue into a real, not just a real fun, real funny thing, but a real, I think, effective thing the movie does in terms of setting tone. And so I thought my only criticisms of the movie at the beginning was that I thought that the movie started off kind of slowly. You gotta get all the players in place. Assemble the pieces.
You gotta put the pawns on the board in their starting spot. Yes.
Yep. Board games. Get it. And so I feel like the movie isn't very long, especially when you consider the gimmick. Really,
the length is perfect. I think this is the movie that if it kept going any further, I would have overstayed its welcome.
I completely agree. Yeah, the length is perfect. So like really it's only during this introduction sequence where I feel like we spend a lot of time, not a lot of time in the grand scheme of things, but it felt like a decent chunk of time to me of like the characters all coming and going, but we don't really have all the wackiness, all the like we're getting their kind of barest personality traits at the moment. And as a first-time viewer, we're just like, oh, well, okay, this isn't quite what I expected. I don't know where this is going exactly. However, until... Is it Tim Curry that steps in the dog poop? I think Tim Curry steps in the dog poop. And so there's just a lot of great little jokes because in any other movie, like I feel like that Tim Curry stepping in the dog poop would be made a much bigger deal. Like, you'd get like that cut shot of like the squish and like, just really gross like poo. But here, Tim Curry like looks at his shoes. He's going inside after like chaining up the dogs and feeding them. And then from then on, all throughout this intro sequence, you see like while they're setting up their finger quotes whodunit murder mystery, you'll see that occasionally the characters will just like take a big whiff and their face still scrunch like they just found something awful. Then they'll check their shoes, and then Tim Curry will try to get out of the room quickly. And it's just like it keeps going over the course like the whole introduction, and it's absolutely perfect at establishing that we're not here for a super serious whodunit. We're not here to find out if we made the right choice or the dreadfully wrong one. We're here to have a good time and laugh, and the movie's very good at doing those things.
It manages to balance the seriousness of the movie starting with just like the quiet occasional tongue-in-cheek moments. It's really masterfully done in both setting the stage of people are going to die because it's Clue and that's a murder thing. Like, I'm not spoiling anything if you go to the Clue and you're like, wow, somebody died? What? But also like kind of play with like it's also a joke. You get it? We're gonna have a good time here. Don't worry too much about it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say this is a nothing at all, not a criticism, not even a praise. But Tim Curry gives off hella Monokuma vibes for like the first fourth of this movie. where he's like putting everyone into place and like explaining the rules of the game and like following and opening like his packets when he's supposed to. I was real into it, but it's not quite the same. So like I said, this is a nothing statement, but I had to get it out there.
Honestly though, Tim Curry for a Monokuma, abso-fucking-lutely.
I actually was just thinking about that. Hollywood, make a live action Danganronpa and get that Tim Curry Monokuma voice.
Oh, that'd be weird for a number of reasons, and also probably not very good.
Probably not very good.
But
so
Tim Curry would sell the hell out of it.
So let's move on to real things.
Yeah, absolutely. So like we can sit here and gush about it, and we're going to gush about it through the rest of this whole fucking thing. But we also need to take some time to talk about serious things. And in our book, there is, of course, nothing more serious than Battleship. Because, like, we've talked, like, neither one of us have seen the movie Battleship. If you're unfamiliar, they released a movie on the board game Battleship in 2012. It was not well reviewed, and as a direct result, Jackson and I have, on a number of occasions, even fairly recently, made fun of Battleship. Like, it's just such an easy touchstone to make fun of. And it's one of those things where it's kind of weird that we sit here and make fun of this, especially me, an avid lover of the movie Clue. And yet neither one of us have seen this to find out if it, too, could become that cult classic. Because Clue was definitely not well received when it first came out. It made like $14.8 million out of its $15 million budget. It didn't even break even on just the movie making side, let alone like the advertising and stuff. So it's kind of funny to compare Battleship, a modern Clue, if you would, but probably not. Neither one of us has seen it. I don't think it's going to be a modern Clue.
Yeah, and so, I mean, really, my reaction when I walked in on you watching it back then really just says it all. What are you watching? Clue. Face scrunch like the board game? For some reason, because obviously, I agree that Battleship is probably not a cult classic in the making. I could be wrong, but if I were a betting man, that is not where I would put my chips.
I won't lie, I'm probably gonna watch it this weekend now.
I really expect a full report. I want a Battleship segment on next week's episode, so the good people can hear about it. So yeah, it's probably not. I mean, like, from what I remember of like the trailers, it looked very much like, the Michael Bay Transformers style was very in. That would have been around the time of like Transformers 3 when like it had its most like cultural impact. So it's a very like gray, gritty looking movie based on the trailers.
It looks very gray, and it doesn't help that they're on the ocean, which is just like a light blue, so another form of gray. And
yeah, and so, but like the thing is, like, we can say all this about Battleship, but those are all observations that we are making based on like what we can actually see. I don't think it's completely like fair or completely unfair to judge a movie just based on its trailers. I've seen many a great movie with a bad trailer and many a terrible movie with a great trailer. But at least when you're judging something off of its trailer, you're talking about what you can see. And I feel a little ashamed of myself for because that's not where my criticisms of Battleship were mostly coming from. I was going for the low-hanging fruit of har, this movie was based on a board game. Isn't that stupid? But why? Why is that any more stupid than anything else they can make a movie out of? Like, Hollywood's whole job is to take stupid and make it like palpable to us.
I mean, my dad always loves to compare like early superhero movies to like modern ones and be like, well, you know what, way back when, anything nowadays is better than the trash I was served. And like that kind of applies here too. Like, superheroes are by their nature kind of dumb. And like Hollywood clearly had to bungle with it for a little bit before they got to where they needed it to be. So like, who's to say that the opposite didn't happen here, or the fact that they took a dumb idea and made it good in the form of Battleship too? Maybe it's a Starship Troopers thing. Maybe it's like self-aware in a way that's really subtle. Probably not.
Probably not. But like even think about Pirates of the Caribbean and say what you will about that franchise.
Based
and, like,
on a fucking ride.
And like everyone gave that shit. Gave that movie shit. But say what you will about like the fourth or the fifth or even the second or the third. That first movie's a fucking banger. They made it work. So really like a movie, an adaptation, even if you're adapting something like lowbrow or dumb, you could still make something cool and funny and clever out of it. And I gotta say, even in Clue, it's not like it's an in-name only thing. Like, the characters are named Colonel Mustard and Mr. Body, for God's sake.
But like they lean into it and give a canonical reason that makes sense.
And it's glorious. And like when they finally do it, like when unironically I clapped when I saw it. When they opened up like the candlestick and the revolver, and then when at the very end when they reference it was X in the Y with the Z, I clapped when I saw it.
It's so goofy, but like this whole movie doesn't take itself serious, and I think that's how it works. And like it's one of those things too where like good properties can be turned into bad movies and bad properties can be turned into good movies. And like this is clearly one of those where somebody took a dumb idea and made it into something wonderful by keeping it tongue-in-cheek and not taking itself super seriously. And so like with Battleship, that's another thing where like keeping it kind of silly, you could have turned it into something kind of tongue-in-cheek and made it kind of goofy, like a Hot Shots or something like that. I don't think they did, from my understanding. Like, once again, I'm purely spitballing here. I will get back to you next week.
All I remember from the trailers, aside from Gray, is Rihanna looking very serious.
Yes. No, everyone in the trailers, like, it's one of those things where I think if the trailers did a very piss poor job of selling it, if it's a little bit of a goofier movie. I know that somehow the red pegs play into it. I don't know how exactly. I think they're like the basis for like a shield barrier or something stupid. But they're there.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Sean, me and the rest of the audience expect a full report because I'm certainly not going to watch it.
Oh, the things I do. The things I do.
I love how, like, you had to, like, cut yourself off there because normally the statement's, like, the things I do for love or whatever, but you can't even give a why. You just do things.
I do. It's one of those things, too, where, like, I realize that, like, the things I do for love or, like, the things I do for the podcast, but I watched After Earth this week. For no real reason.
Completely of his own accord. The only man to have ever done so, aside from Jaden Smith and Will Smith.
I fucking found it for $3 at a half-price book. So I'm like, well, shit, I can't pass this up. It's the Blu-ray. It even comes with the DVD. I'll buy this. And then I watched it. Again. That's the other thing. That was not the first time I had seen it. That was the second time. I rewatched After Earth. Listen, I'm not here to say I'm a smart man, but I'm a man who stands by his principles. And my principles mostly involve watching terrible, terrible movies because I hate myself. Oh. All right. Well, look, we've beaten around the bush long enough at this point. Let's talk spoilers. We're all aching to talk about the gimmick of this movie. Mostly I am, because I love the gimmick of this movie and I like talking about it. I will talk about the gimmick of this movie to anyone who will listen, or even like, hey, you ever play the board game Clue? Well, you know what's funny about the movie version? I love it. It's so good.
My man's a Clue sea lion.
Fucking, I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna say absolutely.
You probably don't want to self-identify as that. A sea lion's a gamer gator constantly looking for a fight.
Oh. No. Fuck it. We're gonna move past it though. That's all we're here. I don't want to dive into that. Do you want to dive into? No one wants to dive into that. Let's fucking talk about Clue. But before we do, next week we're gonna come back. We did this 2 years ago at this point, and we watched It Chapter 1, and like a fucking bad penny, it's back. It's It Chapter 2. I don't want to watch this movie. It's almost 3 hours long. I did not like the first one at all. But Jackson wants to watch it.
It's gonna be a big hit because everyone wanted to know my opinions about the first one. So I figured it'd be a nice, handy way to just send them a link so I don't have to repeat myself as much. So, Sean, I'm dragging you into this for one more. Also, I'm kind of curious. So, let's go.
I guess this is my penance for getting to watch Clue the week before. Sean, you get to watch something you actually like for once. Oh, but we're doing It next week. So, you know.
Tides go in, tides go out. Never a miscommunication.
All right, let's talk about the gimmick. And if you have gotten this far and you're not familiar with it, don't worry about it. As I said, Jackson knew about the gimmick before watching the movie, and it didn't hamper his opinion.
It was still great, actually.
Mostly because the whole mystery of it is incidental. And, like, the gimmick is all around the ending, and, like, the mystery being so incidental is what allows the ending to work. Because that's the gimmick, is that there's multiple endings to the movie.
So yeah, now that was one of the main things I was watching for, actually, knowing this gimmick before going in. Because I'm gonna take a detour and talk about Game of Thrones for a hot second. In that, you know, season 8 just happened and everyone hated it, and as such, because George R.R. Martin is still working on the books, there's a lot of people saying, well, maybe now he'll see that we hated it, and maybe he'll change the ending. Like, maybe this is a blessing in disguise. But George R.R. Martin has actually spoken on this matter in the context of people getting fan theories right, and says that really, that's not the Jedi way. That's not how you do things. To kowtow to fan whining is the way to the dark side, because when you're a storyteller, and I completely agree with him on this, like, you know, you set up your plot twists, you know, you do a lot of planning, if you're a good writer, you sprinkle in some foreshadowing and, like, try to make everything feel organic and come to a proper conclusion, which you can't really do if all of your hints and clues and, you know, foreshadowing is leading down Route A, and then at the last second you say, oh fuck, nobody likes what I'm doing, and go down Route B. So that was sort of my main concern, because obviously, like, I had assumed that the movie was basically a mystery. And
as a quick aside, if you want more on that, you should just go watch Lindsay Ellis's videos. They're like 3 hours long total, and she delves well into that.
It's those are great videos. Retweet that recommendation. But so, you know, coming in, I found myself pretty much ever since we started playing Danganronpa being more interested and attuned to mystery in fiction, and mystery fiction in particular. So I was sort of wondering, like, well, you know, the cases that were satisfying in Danganronpa were the ones where, like, you theoretically could figure it out, but, like, you know, the writing was so clever that you didn't. And so I was wondering, I'm like, well, if there's 3 different endings, surely, like, the mystery is going to have to be kind of sloppy in order to accommodate the fact that Whodunnit is going to be different in each scenario. And this is a problem that a lot of video games have, right? Like, you know, the multiple ending thing is more common there. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but it's definitely happened before. I believe I'm going to use some secondhand criticism because I've never played these games, but apparently this is a problem with the newer Silent Hills, is that, like, the endings are so radically different, whereas the older ones, like, the backstory is sort of the same. It just plays out in the, like, different ways.
The dog ending, man, fucks you up.
The dog ending. So that being said, my fears were pretty much completely addressed because, as Sean says, mystery's pretty incidental. The movie is primarily a comedy. I'd go as far as to call it a parody of these kind of like whodunit murder mysteries. And this is, if it wasn't clear at the beginning, like it becomes abundantly clear in the very excellent, like sort of last sequence where 3 bodies are added to the total. It's like impossible to keep track of where everyone is and what they're doing, and who dies when and where. And then Tim Curry like has a brain blast, and he runs around the house and leads everyone through like every step of the crime, every step of every single crime, and he zooms back and forth and everyone follows him, and it's really like slapsticky and really funny. And that's where you get to your
Please stop doing that to me. No.
No. It's so perfect. And side note, I have another one of my world famous bounties that so far only Sean has delivered on. So maybe
someone get in here.
But Sean, I know you want this too. I want someone to take that scene of Tim Curry like running around and explaining the crime. I guess it doesn't matter which one. But take one of those scenes and put the Danganronpa music that plays when the main character is explaining the crime in manga form, and have it play over that, because that would tickle me very much so.
The multiple endings really only work because the movie doesn't really care about the mystery. The mystery is purely the reason to get all these fantastic actors and actresses together to do their thing, and it works in a lot of ways, and like especially watching it now with the 3 of them together plays really well. I want to talk a little bit about how the endings were done originally, because that's coming up next. But like now when you watch Clue, it goes, that could have been how it ended, but what about this? And then it gives you a second ending, and then it goes, but that also could have happened. But here's what really happened. It gives you the third ending, which is, I guess, technically the canonical ending. Whereas Mr. Green works for the FBI, and everyone else does it, and it turns out that it was not Lee Ving who was Mr. Body, but Tim Curry is Mr. Body. And I should also clarify, because if you say Lee Ving's or name really quick, it just sounds like somebody who's leaving the building. No, the actor who plays Mr. Body is Lee Ving, also the lead singer of Fear, but that's neither here nor there.
Is that a stage name? Did you do that on purpose?
It is a stage name. He was born Lee James Caballero, I believe. So I assume it's some sort of joke that he did. But I also don't know. Ving could be some thing related to his life or something. I'm literally looking at a Wikipedia article that I'm not actually reading.
I'm gonna go ahead and assume it was on purpose.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the endings, as I said, they're all just there, and they're a lot of fun to watch in sequence, and like the various ways everything goes through and seeing the different ways they could have gone are incredibly satisfying. However, as I said, there's multiple endings to this, and those multiple endings played at different theaters. So theoretically, if you and your friend lived in the same town, and one of you went to go see an AMC theater, and the other one went to go to a local, let's just call it a local theater, because I can't think of any other theater chains right now. You could have gotten different endings based on where you went. Like, you could have gotten the quote-unquote true ending, and then they could have gotten the ending where fucking Tim Curry works for Hoover, and it was Peacock who killed him. And that is a really clever idea. I really, really, really like that as a gimmick for the movie. I think it was ahead of its time. This movie didn't do well, as I said, but I think that has a lot to do with the fact that the multiple endings probably confused a lot of people, probably led to a fight or two.
let's not mince words here. This movie definitely led to a few breakups.
People have argued about and broken up over less. And, like, this is basically proto-gaslighting.
This is gaslighting on the good theater-watching populace on a grand scale, and I love it.
It's so good.
There are definitely a couple flaws in the plan, though, especially when you consider that this is an 80s movie. So, for one, now, was it different theaters, or did they switch it up depending on the showing, too?
I don't know. I know it was different theaters at the very least.
Because I would hope that they would have thought of this and instructed them to change it up at the showings.
Here's my caveat to that, though. Film is expensive, and this is pre-digital.
That's true. So maybe not. And if so, that's a problem. Consider my humble former location of Marquette, Michigan, that had exactly one movie theater. Now it doesn't matter that movie theater probably didn't exist back in the 80s, but the point is there would have been places where there would only be one theater for miles, and so already you're missing the point of the gimmick, which is very fun to like confuse the fuck out of people and get them arguing and like kind of get the last laugh on the audience. Like that's sort of the final joke, like fuck you, the mystery doesn't matter.
I will say it would be possible that like various screens would have various different reels. True. So like if it's a multi-screen showing could be showing two different versions of Clue.
Very true. But regardless, and then as Sean had said, even not thinking about those logistics, which we can't say for certain. Yeah, like this definitely would have led to arguments, and considering that, I'm sure the stigma still existed, perhaps even more so, because we've had like 2 decades now of comic schlock to get us acclimated to dumb shit on screen, whereas like in the 80s, people say. Like, I mean, if you crack open, like, an old Calvin and Hobbes book and, like, see what Bill Watterson was complaining about as far as, like, commercialism and media, Clue would very much fall under that sort of scrutiny. So, obviously, this criticism still exists, and there was still a bias against movies like this.
Yeah, no, it bombed for a reason. And I think that there's, like, both being gimmicky and also... I don't know much about the marketing, but I feel like whatever the marketing was would not do this movie justice.
No, I mean, because I imagine that they probably assumed the safe thing to be would be sell it as more of a typical like whodunit murder mystery, which was probably the wrong play.
Yeah, because going into this expecting a whodunit murder mystery and then having an extended joke about the house smelling like poo inexplicably doesn't really jive.
Well, not only that, but if they sold it as like a real ass mystery, they'd look at that, they'd like snort and say, "What? You expect me to like care about the mystery and fucking Clue like Colonel Mustard? Ridiculous!" And then turned off, just like change the channel or like watch the next preview and forgot about it or something.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's part of the reason why it became a cult status, though, is because when it did hit TV, people would watch 5 minutes of it, get engaged with it, and then realize, oh my god, I'm watching Clue.
Yes. Absolutely.
But what I was going to say is, this was definitely before its time as far as gimmicks go. Because I maintain that if someone could get a movie out today with the exact same gimmick going and not have it spoiled before release day, this would be the greatest fucking thing to ever happen, because Twitter would explode. It is far easier to do today than it has ever been before. And there's enough people going to theaters. Like, if they had done this, could you imagine if they had done this with Endgame? That would be just the best thing in the world, especially when they say don't give spoilers for like a week. And people are just bubbling up with different information from each other. and like some spoilers leak, but then they go like, oh, that wasn't actually true, and then it is for other people. Like, how crazy would that be? Twitter would just and I want it so badly.
I completely agree. I want this theoretical movie to tear Twitter asunder. You would have to, you would have to be, I think, considering your point about Endgame, I think in order to get people to play along, it would have to be some sort of sequel or some sort of, like, beloved property that would be guaranteed an audience, because I think that the only way that you could safely do this and, like, get people to be quiet would be to not screen it for critics ahead of time. Because, like, I think that...
Or do what they did with Endgame, because they screened that for critics ahead of time, and that didn't get spoiled.
That didn't get spoiled, that's true. I guess, like...
Especially because the other thing, too, is if you screen it for critics, just give them one ending.
No, for sure. I guess so. But like, but I guess if they can't spoil the ending, then it wouldn't come up in the reviews, then would it? No, yeah. I guess you could do it. I guess I'm just operating under the assumption that there would be one asshole who ruined all the fun. But I guess if they didn't for Endgame, I mean, I'm assuming they also were terrified of the Disney wrath, but...
Well, I was gonna say, even if somebody does try and spoil the fun, it's not gonna work, because the ending is different for everyone.
Well, no.
So that one person who tries to spoil it is gonna look like a crazy person.
No. I mean, like, the person who tries to spoil the fun is the person who's, like, talking to, like, fellow film critics and figures it out and then spoils that's the gimmick.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. You send every film critic, every preview screening, the same ending.
Oh.
That way that even the critics can't figure it out ahead of time.
Oh, I misunderstood you. Okay. Yeah, that could actually work. That would be fucking sick. Oh my god.
So congratulations, we've just theory crafted the next greatest movie. It might be a terrible movie, honestly, but like the ending would fucking rip the world apart.
Somebody get on that, unironically, please.
Because like that's also like a really fun type of division too. Like that's the type of thing that like some of you are like, well, you're just dividing the world, but like that's such like a unifying division of just like goofy bullshit. Like just make it like a silly movie too, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't want it to be Endgame. I want it to be like another thing like Clue, but like it has to have the property. Spider-Man would work for this, actually.
Spider-Man would work for this, I think.
Deadpool.
Oh, bingo. There it is.
Fox, Disney, I hate that you're the same now, but get at us. This is your fucking free idea. We'll give it to you. Make it happen, please.
And then, God, but like, because it would be like, the sad thing is that it's both like the perfect time to do that sort of thing, and also a dangerous time, because like there is more behind the scenes like interaction on set now. And so like the risk of it getting out is much higher, but if you can do it, that'd be brilliant, because that's the sort of like fun and wackiness that is kind of lost in this interconnected hell age.
Oh, for sure. Like this would seriously be like the most insane thing, and it would totally be really unifying, especially if you get like a big group of people to do it. Like this would be like a new Pokemon Go.
Yes. Come on. Doesn't that sound good, film studios? Don't you want to have that Pokemon Go money?
Fucking 2016 Pokemon Go was like the greatest thing that has been for 10 years. I want that August 2016 again. All right. Well, what else we got? We've talked about the mystery being kind of incidental and how that was kind of like a big fuck you to the viewers. We've talked about the endings. I mean, you've talked a little bit about knowing the endings ahead of time. Like, I mean, do you want to dive a little bit more into that at this point, or?
Yeah, so I can speak to that for a little bit. I think it's interesting that you brought up how ending C is positioned as kind of the canonical ending, and I think that,
as an aside, I think that there's a non-zero chance that ending C is positioned as the canonical ending, because it definitely has the best ending stinger.
Oh, it totally does.
because it ends with the character who is proclaimed to be homosexual. He's gay. This is set in the 1960s, which I want to touch on that again in a second here, because that was something that I picked up recently. But like, so, you know, it's a whole big deal. And then like it ends with a very 80s phrase that I just fucking adore, where he ends up like being the hero and like isn't actually part of it, and he just ends looking back at everyone else who has all committed murders. Tim Curry is dead, and just goes, "I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife," and credits roll. It is so dumb, and it is the best ending to anything. It is so fucking good. Also, low-key, Mr. Green is a fucking great character in this too. Like, he just kind of sits in the background for the most part, and you kind of like forget about him, but he kind of kills it. Like, I realized, like, I knew that he kind of did something towards the end there, but like I hadn't seen it in a couple of years, so like it was still a little I couldn't exactly remember how it all played out, but I was pulling for him. Like, there's something about him that you kind of want to root for.
No, yeah, I totally get it. I think part of that is just how like his kind of the lady doth protest too much, methinks, because he's always the one going like, "It wasn't me, I didn't do it," like the hardest. And it really wasn't him, like in any scenario. And that's great. And I think that, so I think like that last ending, in addition to having the best stinger, I think that for all the craziness that we've seen, it's the most satisfying that you kind of get your like Murder on the Orient Express, like everyone's in on it, and it repositions Tim Curry as our Monokuma for the evening, which is also great. And then really what I love most about the experience of watching all three endings back to back, though, is the repetition of communism as a red herring.
Listen,
which is maybe a good segue to talk about socialism.
Some of my wife's friends were socialists. How could this be? And how relevant to today?
God bless Mrs. Tim Curry. She didn't roll over on him, though. In two of the endings, at least. And the other one, I'm assuming she's fake.
What?
That's why she was getting blackmailed. She refused to give him the names of the
Oh,
socialists.
yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. I thought you meant, like, rolled over onto Tim Curry. I'm gonna cut this part. But, like, rolled over onto Tim Curry and, like, crushed him in his sleep or something? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I might not cut this. Honestly, this is fucking trash, but, like, it's just...
Ah, yes, Tim Curry's wife, the Fat Princess from Sony's Fat Princess.
I was just like, what the fuck do you mean rolled over on him? What does that even mean? It means I'm a dum-dum.
I think that's the phrase. Maybe I got it wrong. Viewers, here's a poll. Who's the dum-dum this week? There's always one. A master and an apprentice.
All right, so yes, no, it's really entertaining. The fucking 1960s aesthetic is great. It was one of those things where, like, it had always kind of, like, I had always kind of picked up that it was not set in the 80s, but, like, in a way that, like, I wasn't cognizant of it. Like, I'm sure my brain knew, like, oh, this isn't actually the 80s, but, like, I never really thought about it until this one. And suddenly, like, all the McCarthyism kind of flew at it, and, like, the whole cars being old made sense, and, like, it kind of recontextualized a lot of it in a very, very funny way. Like, communism being a red herring, and, like, my wife's friends are socialists and stuff like that. Like, before that line, it was just kind of funny and weird. Now that, like, I understand that it was McCarthyism, it was even better. It's fucking great. The 1960s aesthetic works just wonderfully, especially when you're not a dum-dum and watch this movie in college and not realize that it's set in the 60s. History is not my strong suit.
Wasn't it even on a title card, my dude?
Was it?
I think
I might have, honest to God, there's a non-zero chance that I've never paid attention to title cards in this movie. Because it is one of those movies that starts off with like, here's the cast in alphabetical order and stuff like that, and I kind of zone out in the beginning of that stuff.
That's fair.
I was, however, listening to the music at that time because I love 80s opening musics because they all sound so similar to each other. Like, you could swap the opening to Clue and the opening to Airplane and it would still work. And I love that.
Yeah, but no, I mean, so I think I'm glad that we're talking about the 60s aesthetic though, because I'm gonna crib liberally from another Lindsay Ellis video right now.
What? Us cribbing from Lindsay Ellis?
No,
never.
Not even once.
Go watch Lindsay Ellis.
She's great. So, I want to talk about kind of the nostalgia cycle, because it makes a lot of sense. And she's not the only one who's made this observation either, that nostalgia kind of works on a 30-year cycle, that the one of the reasons that a lot of 80s media and a lot of the 80s aesthetic, generally speaking, sort of refers back to, like, you know, late 50s, early 60s, is that that's when the creators of said media were growing up as children and, of course, have nostalgia for it, and therefore, like, you know, in any 30-year period, in any given period of time, like, the past that we're going to be looking back to and remembering fondly is like on a 30-year like time scale, which you can see today through stuff like, you know, It and Stranger Things. That was what the Lindsay Ellis video was about. And now, you know, as we get closer, as us 90s fucks, as we approach 30, and many of us already are 30.
I age.
All right, folks, I guess that's it for this week.
That was way more existential than I meant it to be.
Holy shit, my dude.
I was trying to make a joke about how, like, I age and my skeleton turns to dust or something, and instead I just repeated I age. And it's so much worse. Oh God.
Okay. Yes, Sean, we do age, and so we're approaching 30, whether we like it or not. Which means that you know, the '90s nostalgia, it's already here. We got Detective Pikachu. We're gonna get fucking Sonic soon. It's all gonna.
We got fucking Invader Zim reboots. We got goddamn fucking Rocko's Modern Life.
All those horrible Disney remakes, like The Lion King.
And The Lion King, too.
He lives in you. I
regret saying that immediately. So, continue. This is so off track. Continue with your 30-year cycle.
I don't even know if I have, like, an intelligent thing to say about it in light of all this much more important information.
Well, today we've learned that we age.
But no, I mean, I thought that was a fun, interesting little tidbit about the movie, and it makes a lot of sense because apparently the board game Clue was only created in, like, 1949, which was much more recent than I expected. So I don't know, like, I think that kind of posits the, like, oh, we're basing a movie on a board game, especially before, like, that sort of, you know, scraping the bottom of the barrel hit critical mass. I mean, there's something kind of nice about that. Like, oh yeah, we played a shit ton of this board game. Can we make, like, a murder mystery movie out of it? Can we do something wacky with it? I don't know. It's just nice.
It really is. Like, this was clearly something that was crafted out of love. John Landis, let's not dive into that too much, but John Landis has, like, been on record as saying, like, he wanted to do this with all three endings, like, have multiple endings to it. So, like, it was clearly a labor of love. Like, he wanted to do something goofy and weird with it, and, like, he, like, spent a lot of time looking for the writer that would do what he wanted to do with it. Like, this is not a cash grab. Like, it doesn't feel like it's just kind of, like, looking to make a quick buck. Like, it feels deliberate across the board, and even if it's not, the actors bring such an energy to it that it's impossible not to love it.
This movie completely deserves its cult classic status. It deserves every last accolade that we can drizzle upon it, which I will do now lovingly and graciously.
Just flames running, just whoosh, running up my face. Just, which, if you don't know, that whole thing was ad-libbed on the spot, and it is just so good. And I said, the characters are great. Mrs. White is a fucking sleeper hit in this. Like, she is not a huge character through most of it, but there are just some moments where she just stands out. Towards the end, at one point, they turn off the lights again while Tim Curry is doing everything, and they turn it back on. Somebody's like, stop doing that, because every time they do it, somebody screams. And in the background, you watch the guy who yelled at start to walk away, and Mrs. White just goes, oh, and then the scene changes.
Oh, speaking of Mrs. White, my favorite moment of the whole movie, the best, like, black comedy moment of the whole movie is when they have to get horny on Maine with the corpses.
Oh my god, yes!
When the police officer comes in and is like, can I have a look around in those rooms you being all suspicious about, good sir? And they're like, why, yes, let's, oh no, what's going to happen? Oh shit. And so their plan of attack is to make it look like they're making out with the corpses.
Well, nothing's going on wrong in there, sir. This is America. That's a free country. Those people are just having a good time.
I didn't think it was that free. It's so good. It's so good.
Well, before we just spend the rest of the episode quoting fucking Clue, because I can quote Clue for the rest of my life. This movie's great. Let's wrap this shit up. I've been Sean McKinda. Find me on Twitter at Sean_McKinda. Find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/helpus_Skippy. Find my writing over at 25yearslatersite.com. I just wrote a whole thing, like 1,500 words on Control. Please go read it. And also go play Control, because I'll save you 1,500 words. I fucking loved it. Control's a great game. But you should also go read the review, because I dive a little bit more into that and talk about some of my little nitpicks on it.
And I've been Jackson Keller. You can find me at twitch.tv/JacksonJKeller, where I mostly play Smash Bros. And Mario Maker. I keep saying more and more that we're getting close to the time at hand to show my hand and reveal my real projects. And every week it continues to be less true, so I'm not going to jinx myself.
One day. If you want to get into contact with the podcast, or if you want to just keep up to date with things, like if perhaps, we're not actually watching Don't Let Go and instead watching Clue, you should follow us on Twitter at BADH_cast. As I said, that's basically where we tweet out updates and shit, so go do that. And if you want to get in contact with Jackson or I directly, the best way to do that is to join our Discord. And the way to do that is to give us $1 every month over at patreon.com/BADHcast. You also get some other great stuff if you go into the higher tiers. At $5, you get our bonus episodes. They are all bangers. At this point, our Empire of the Sun episode will have been out for about a day. It's a great episode. All of the episodes we've ever done on that are fucking fantastic. And I'm not just saying that, they are very good episodes. Also, at the $10 tier, you get to request bonus episodes. So if you want us to talk about a video game or a movie or an anime or something like that, that's what you can do. You go in there and be like, hey, go watch Crawl or something. Crawl, that's the alligator movie that just came out, I believe. I just pulled the name out of my ass. You also...
I didn't think that was a real movie.
It's a Sam Raimi movie, actually.
Oh, shit. Okay, well,
It's supposed to be pretty alright. I just didn't get a chance to see it in theaters. I want to, though. But no, you also get a special little something.
Oh, special thanks to Travis, Julia, Mom, and Summer.
Also, shout out to Lords of the Highway for the use of our theme song. It is Suicide, alternate take off the album High Octane, Low Expectations. They're a great band. Go check them out. Go give them your money. Go give them your listens, all that good stuff. Also, thanks to 25yearslatersite.com for the endorsement. We actually have our logo back up on their site. It takes you right to badhcast.com. So like, if you want to get it there directly, you can do so really indirectly by going to 25yearslatersite.com first. But while you're there, you should also definitely check out everything else that's been going on over there. There's a ton of really talented people doing a bunch of really talented writing. We got video game stuff, there's movies, TV shows, gaming, TV, movie news, interviews. There's actually some wrestling stuff there now too. It's great stuff. And next week, last but not least, we're going to be talking about It Chapter 2.
The final chapter, hopefully.
I'm not looking forward to it. But you know what? I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife. Bye.
Don't you go into the ground. Don't you go.